video for this month is on pulling and failing. I'm going to put the two together because I think they're related, and the motions, when you look at them side to side, I think become a little bit more clear. Should be a pretty short video, but I think it's a good way to kind of work on some handwork motions and spice up your Pell work a little bit. So for pulling, Meyer says it this way: you can deceive your opponent masterfully with pulling, which is a very good handwork. You shall do it thus. After you have bound your opponent or cut in at his opening with the long edge, then quickly pull back as if you intend to cut at the other side. However, do not proceed, but quickly complete the cut with short edge back at the spot from which you have gone away. So we're going to double up our target with a misdirection in the middle, going from a front edge to a back edge. That's the first one. So I think we just look at kind of a basic onside, offside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to strike the onside, and I'm going to pull back and fake the offside, and then come back with the back edge. So at a very basic level, this is not a complicated motion. One, fake, back to one with the back edge. And you can do that with all of the targets. And so this is something that you can work into, for example, your 1 through 6 Pell drill, to kind of spice it up a little bit if you're getting bored. And so you can do it all on the same target. So I could practice 1, pull, 1, 2, 1, pull, 1, 3, 1, pull, 1, 4, and it's just a way to get that. And then of course you could do that with 2. You could also go 1, 2, pull, 2, back to 1. And so when you're doing it on the offside, which is a little bit harder, it's still a front edge, faking to the other side, and then you're going to push your pommel into the back edge, then go to the next target. So I think pulling is an easy motion that you could work into your first target of all the 1 through 6. So if you did 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, your initial 1 would always be that kind of doubling up with the pulling, or you could kind of mix and match it in there. But that's a motion that you could put in to work the mechanic of the handwork and spice up your 1 through 6 drill. Now failing is a little bit different. If you look at the pulling motion, it's a little choppy, right? We're going to hit and then snap back. Failing is a much more flowy misdirection. So here is what Meyer has to say about failing. He says, anyone can well deliver a failing attack, but only a well-trained combatant knows how to execute it suitably at the proper time. Therefore, if you wish to deliver a failing stroke advantageously, such that you can gather another from it, then take care when you cut at an opening and your opponent seeks to parry you, that you do not let the cut connect, but run off and cut at another opening. So that lack of connection is very important. Also makes failing dangerous, and I'll talk about that in a second. So here's the example we get. In the onset, come into the right wrath. So this is really any right chambered guard. As soon as you can reach him, then step and cut at his left ear as far as his sword. But before the cut connects, lift the pommel and let the blade run off by his left side without hitting, and pull it around your head. Then cut at his other side, outside over his right arm at his head. So again, this is just an onside to offside example, but the motion is very different. So again, with the pull that we're given, we're actually going to make contact, fake to the other side, and then snap back with false edge. So there's contact and kind of that choppy motion, a pulling motion. With this one, we're just going to let it run off without contact. So if I'm facing the Pell, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my first cut, and then when I see the opponent's going to parry it, I'm going to almost transition through kind of a hanging guard position. So my sword's still projected in front, and I'm just going to lift the pommel. I really think about that relaxed lead hand to make this thing happen. And I do want it to come pretty close. I don't necessarily want it to go way out to the side. I'm just going to let it transform into the next one. So this happens without an arresting of the motion. We want to turn the motion into the next cut. So again, 1 to 2. And I think if this motion, which people seem to struggle with initially, I think, if you're struggling with this motion, just practice the onside to offside. You can just practice 1, 2, reset, 1, 2, reset. But just like with the pulling, once you're comfortable with that motion, we can start to practice it kind of inserted into the 1 through 6 Pell drill. So you again could fail every 1 cut. So we could come 1 to fail to 2, 1 to fail back to 1, 1 to fail to 3, 1 to fail to 4, and so on and so forth. And then you could do it with 2 and that type of thing. With the offsides, because your arms are crossed, it can sometimes be a little bit harder. So just remember, whether you're coming from the turning of the little wheel or you're chambered and you're going to throw this, the pommel is still going to turn. So again, that lead hand wrist turn and the lifting of the pommel is it here. So in a way, we're kind of flowing through a kind of extended kind of hanging guard position. What makes failures dangerous compared to like the pulling example is there's no contact. So we really have to make sure that the sword projects out first and we see that they're going to look for the parry before we refuse contact and go to the next thing. If we come in with our body on that initial motion, or we're not paying attention to what the opponent's doing, we might get stabbed or we might get doubled in the middle of the transition. So with non-contact misdirections of any sort, and certainly with the failing, you really want to make sure that the sword is projected first so that we commit the sword then the body. Just in case they do something we don't want, we can pull up or do something else to keep ourselves safe. And then just make sure that we see that the opponent's kind of chasing our sword for the parry, and then we can do the failure. So I think when you look at the pulling and the failing together, I think they actually become very clear. So I wanted to put those two into one video, talk about how to practice them in isolation in the pill, and then maybe how to put them into a 1 through 6 drill or a 4 quadrant drill, just to kind of spice things up if you're bored working on your pill at home. And we'll work on something else next month.